So, before we begin with this, normally I like to have a little fun with these reviews. I try not to get too serious when I can. And even when I get mad and whatnot, I don't really play it up too much because those legitimately do piss me off. But when stuff gets serious, I do want to take stuff with a serious tone. So, normally, I talk about the B plot first and then address the A plot that directly ties to the show. However, in this situation, my issue with episode 11 can be slimmed down to the B plot in the execution and the delivery. People might call me names and call me all types of phobes later. I'm not. It's with the execution and delivery do I have an issue with this, and the blatant mouthpiece that one of the characters is. But that's the B plot. Let's dive into the A plot. Now, I said the name wrong last time because I was reading it. I forgot what the creature was called. It's called the Sifif. The Skissif? The Sifif. It's a water dragon. We get the beach episode, kinda. So, we open up the episode with all the High Guardian students, or at least 10 of them, basically working together to fight a giant octopus in teams of 2, except for the girls, Rosemary, Sage, Tyne, and Parsley. They're all in the same boat because, I don't know, maybe because there wasn't enough boats, so they just stuck them together. And throughout all this, Rosemary's trying to pitch team names, and yeah, you can kind of guess where this is going, but it just seems so weird and out of nowhere. She hasn't tried to come up with a name. It's the same thing Actually, no, it's not the same thing, because at least there was a setup for it. Like in Avatar The Last Airbender, when they get to Ba Sing Se, Sokka keeps trying to come up with team names because he hears about the elite earthbending fighting force, whatever the heck the names were. I'm a bad fan. Trying to stop the Fire Nation from entering the city. They were a cool name, and it spurred that. This just comes out of nowhere. And the fight is between all the students and a giant octopus because, now, listen very carefully. The Sifif is going around eating mermaids. Mermaids are sentient creatures in this world, the same as dwarves, elves, humans, and witches, and all that stuff. So this creature is killing people. It is eating them. They know this. It is a serious mission, and they're giving it to a bunch of first years. Why? Because apparently there's no one else to send. Now, at least I give them credit that they tried to gauge them with above water combat, even though, as we'll see later, it's all underwater combat, so, yeah. But beyond all that, they choose the representatives, and we get the girls, obviously. But then we get Cal and Snapdragon, too, but no Amarith. And I know why they didn't put Amarith in there, because if Amarith was in this, the B-plot wouldn't happen. Because she would have shut Cal up very quickly for what's going to happen. Once again, I will address that at the end. So, now this is kind of ties into something like in Naruto, where they, form their squads, and they run off and they go do their missions with their squad leader, who's a Jonin, a seasoned veteran, able to lead squads and whatnot, and they're very good at this. And they go with Professor Caraway. Is it Calloway or Caraway? I always forget. I could look it up, but the Ray Rodriguez self-insert character, the one who looks like him, sounds like him, because he's voiced by him, and yeah, as we'll get to the B-plot, but he's going with them. Except he's not. When they get there, they also meet the Rita Repulsa professor, I forget her name, but she's still kind of Maleficent a little bit, but we actually get to see a better side of her later. So the girls go down, they meet mermaids, and they find the Sifif still trying to eat them. Like, they're still trying to kill people. It's an animal. I know they said, the mermaid said, we grew up with him, he used to love belly rubs. Man, we're so close to him, and it feels so bad that this is happening to him. And I'm not taking that away. It's sad that what's happening, even though this maybe could have been avoided if the girls had spoken up earlier, because the Sifif is infected by the rot, or at least it looks like it was infected by the rot, so it's acting out in rage and is attacking the mermaids. The girls know about this, and they could have told it, and even when they mention the rot later, it seems like Caraway and the other professor, they both know what's going on. So, what? No one's been addressing this or whatnot? And it's interesting because they say it's near which country where all the new magic and all the crazy stuff is. So, The girls team up with the mermaids. Oh yeah, I guess I should point this out. Out of nowhere, they have like a magical girl Sailor Moon transformation to transform into mermaids. Complete with literally, like yellow going around their bodies, and they get the mermaid bottoms, and then really emphasizing Parsley's breast out of nowhere. Adult, I guess, but no one wanted that. No one needed that. What the hell is wrong with you people? And same with Sage as well. And they all get little earrings and bracelets, and it's supposed to be all nice and magical and cool and all happy. People are getting eaten. Take it seriously. I once again tie to Naruto. The first mission, the first big mission they have, the C rank mission, Naruto gets poisoned and has to stab himself in order to get the poison out. And then gets healed because he's got the fox magic. Black Clover, once again, Asta, the main character, and his crew go off to a village, basically, to try to stop, I forget what they're doing there. I think they're trying to see, like, a bandit or whatnot. And they take it seriously because people are getting beaten up. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, somebody died. I don't know for a fact, but I know Magna was there, too, and he got a really good scene. Really hoping they can animate what he does later, but that's a whole other thing altogether. So the girls are down there. They have this transformation. They meet the mermaids. They try to fight the creature. It fails. One of them gets, like, his tail chewed up, because we both get male and female mermaids. And the one that Tynes now got a thing for, because I guess all the women gotta be gay, or be Parsley. I don't mean to be that way, but you're literally, like, I get the whole show is LGBTQ representation, but I'm only seeing the L and no, not even the Q, just really the L and the T with Callaway and whatnot. And I guess straight to a little bit with the parents and whatnot. Beyond all that, though, like, nothing. Somebody pointed out in one of the comments they seem like with all the LGBTQ community and whatnot, they don't really seem a lot of the B anymore, which I guess this would be a good chance to have it. I mean, maybe have one of them be it, but whatever. I don't care one way or the other. It's just weird that out of nowhere, now Tyne's got a thing for this girl, and it never comes up again. I mean, we only got one episode left, but still. So, they try to fight the dragon, fails, so they get the great idea. They have this fortress where they're all hiding out in, and the dragon can't get to them, so makes sense. Well, Sage comes up with a good idea, and I legitimately mean good. Why don't we trap the dragon in here so we can study him and he can't escape? Now, the plan fails because out of nowhere, and I do mean out of nowhere, not since episode 5, I want to say? Yeah, I think it was episode 5, because she was using it good in the caves and whatnot. Sage loses control of her magic. Like, she can't control the new magic at all, and it mortally wounds the dragon that was trying to eat them and has eaten people. Don't get me wrong, it is sad to have your pet go rabid and kill people and then it gets killed in the process. But mention it was, take it away, simply say it's trying to attack, it's attacking people. Thankfully no one's been hurt. No one's been killed or anything. They've been wounded, but no one's... Say that, so that way there's not that overlaying thing of people have died. Mermaids and mer people, technically. But still, so the girls are doing all this. Calloway's not there, and neither is the other professor because they're doing stuff. One's reading a romance novel, and the other's dealing with the B plot, and not even paying attention to this, but whatever. So, this all happens, and, it gets mortally wounded, it comes to the surface. And here's where it gets legitimately good. And this could have been done even with things kind of the setup. So Sage is sad that she killed something. Now, killing things is not easy. It is not a good thing as a guy who values life. So, if it has to happen, it shouldn't be taken unseriously, I would say. It's not just to be, just by the dozen. But the girls have already been shown killing creatures. Episode 7, when they go into the cave, they legitimately kill all those big crabs running around, and they smash the giant diamond golems. They've killed things before, but I guess because this thing was the pet before and everything, it's now more sentimental, I guess. But once again, still trying to kill people, and I do like that Tyne takes this little unicorn thing they have that was supposed to paralyze the dragon so they could observe it. Sting him instead with it, so that way it doesn't feel the pain anymore. before they can kill it. And I give the professors both credit. Calloway and Rita Repulsa. I wish I knew her name. I think it's like Beatrix or something. But they go and they basically, they say, hey, we can do this. We can kill. You don't need to, because they don't think they might be ready for that. And it's a legitimate thing. It's one of the reasons why at the, way later in the Naruto series, filler though it might be, because I don't think it was ever in the manga, at least this dialogue. But Kakashi thanks Haku and Zabuza for being Naruto's first real mission because it exposed them to all the aspects of a ninja. Both the underhand attackness, the over-the-top techniques, the possibility that you may die, your friends may die, and not everyone is as evil as you think they are. So it's a good scene there, and it's a good scene here, with Rosemary delivering the final blow to kill the dragon. And, the girls are all sad and crying. The mermaids are crying. They notice the rot, and that's when Calloway and Rita basically... I'm going to keep calling her that, I'm sorry. But they basically acknowledge that stuff is bad and it's affecting nature. Notice whose names I haven't said at all. Cal and Snapdragon. So, going back to the beginning of the episode when they get paired up, Cal and Snapdragon give each other dirty looks. Mostly because Cal's a jackass. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. He's not a good person. Like, he might have layers or whatnot, and it's very clear that he's, once again, that symbol of toxic masculinity they love so much, but he's an outright jerk. Like, unlike Aster before, who was just egotistical and snobbish, no, this dude's just a straight-up jackass. Like, I don't think there's been a single line of dialogue where he was a good person. We get a little bit of it in episode 12, but that teases to something later. But they're in a boat together, and the girls are in a boat together, and Calloway's in his. So Calloway's carrying all the supplies, the girls are in one boat, like these little rowboats that are powered by magic, and, well, Calloway's magic. And Snapdragon and Cal are in their own boat. I wonder why they didn't just put another girl in there to make it balanced, 3 and 3. In case something happens, that way you have an equal number of people to rescue somebody, like if a boat gets tipped over or something. Oh yeah, because let's just say the amount of drinks. Only 6 this time. I forgot about it. And most of it comes down to the murder and the tea stuff that is about to happen. We'll get to that in a minute. So, Cal starts messing with Snapdragon and bringing up the whole, him dressing like a mermaid and, oh, you want to be a mermaid? Man, you just, be on the water. You want to be in the water as a mermaid. Oh, come on. We all saw you trying to strut like you were queen of the ball. Man, your dad must be so proud to call you his daughter. That's what he says. I might have missed a few words here or there, but that's the spirit and tone of it. He's being a jackass. He's trying to mess with Snapdragon. He's just being a jerk. Now, he doesn't know Snapdragon has issues, but he's just trying to mess with him, push his buttons. He's trying to be a jerk. We've seen it all before. Now, I stress this. Words do not dictate violence unless those words are dictating violence towards you. Case in example. If Cal threatens someone to Snapdragon, like, man, it's a shame if your new girlfriend got injured because you off playing mermaid or something. No, even that wouldn't work, but just threatening somebody, that would be a little different. All he did was just make fun of Snapdragon, and Snapdragon, based on his name, snaps. He goes ham on Cal, pushes him over, and just starts wailing on him over and over again. Now, they're the only two wearing body armor, basic shoulder pads, wrist guards, braces, all that stuff. So, Snapdragon's got leather bracers on. You can kill people like that. And he is wailing on him over and over and over again, basically with the same sound effects. Sound effects still ain't that good. And then Cal leaves to go return back to the academy. He's done and he's messed up. Like, they even say later, his nose is broken. And he's got his eyes swollen shut, and yeah, Snapdragon messed him up. That is not good. Once again, words do not dictate towards your violence. Just because someone pisses you off, and just because you're upset with someone, doesn't mean you physically attack them. unless they are threatening something you care about, which actually is kind of ironic given later, don't do it. And also, to both of them, and they're both in the wrong for this, need I remind you, there's a sea dragon out there eating mer people by apparently the popcorn bucket load. Maybe you should put this little pissing contest aside for like 5 seconds and then focus on the mission at hand. You know, because you're freaking guardians, in training mind you, but still, do that. And also later, Calloway even mentions, or Caraway, if I get the names mixed up, I apologize. It's not the alcohol, it's just that you haven't heard his name that much in a while. It's been a while since I looked it up. The Ray Rodriguez self-insert, I always remember him from that. But, literally, he knows that this is Cal's MO. Like, Cal's a jerk. He's just a really, really competent fighter who has a catch battle phrase of, for gore and glory. Took a shot for that one. But apparently it's not good when it's his gore that's getting beaten the heck up. And to be fair, broken nose, you're not going to do that much fighting afterwards. Especially if you got to go underwater, I imagine. So, also, in the process, with his leather bracers, whose sole purpose is to keep the wrist in good condition for close quarter combat in case something hits it, if he needs to block with it, to protect him from slashes, or, and this might shock people, to punch people with, somehow he breaks his wrist. So either Snapdragon is hitting Cal so hard that he can basically just make his armor useless, his armor is useless, or, and even if that's true, Cal would have to be either have his face caved in, or he's got skin made of metal. Either way, you don't know anything. And then Calloway pulls up and says, get in the boat, you know, your wrist is broken. I guess he just knows by looking at it. It's not like he's got like a broken bone or anything. It's just, you know, he's holding his wrist. Could have sprained it in all honesty. You ever try hitting handbags for the first time without a good form? You can bang that sucker up and bust up your knuckles. So, while the girls go on their adventure, they're on lookout duty on the land. Because, now, they never say that the sea dragon can go on land, and I guess they were just trying to be on lookout, but it's not like they have a way to communicate with the girls. It's not like they have walkie-talkies going, oh yes, Rosemary, we see the Sisyph, the Skivith, the sea dragon. We see it swimming on the eastern sector over there. You might want to be on the lookout. They don't do that. Like, they can see it, but nothing will happen. But it's okay, because that's completely useless, because now it's all about Calloway and Snapdragon having this conversation in their B-plot with a sea-eating dragon in the water. Sorry, sea dragon. Well, a mermaid-eating sea dragon in the water with mermaids, 4 of your students. You might want to pay attention to the situation there, buddy. So, and then we get, honestly, not bad scenes in the beginning. I long since stated, I will state when this show does something good, when it does something bad, and that's coming, and when it has good intentions and it becomes bad. More of that one. And before I dive into this, I need to stress, I'm not trying to be funny with this. I'm being 100% serious. And once again, cis straight male, but I've looked into other people's reviews from all walks of life. In fact, one of my favorite reviews of this comes from Manga Comments, shout out to him, who actually brought on someone who was trans and dissected the scene from the viewpoint of somebody who's fully transitioned. As an adult, I feel I need to mention that, but they still did it. So, and they gave good reasoning and why they see it this way. They see, and the one thing that they said a lot was it represents, which is fine, but here's how it plays out. So Snapdragon talks to Calloway about how he's upset that he feels he's the one getting punished, and he's like, am I in trouble? Yes, you beat up a student! But no, apparently it's all, no, we'll talk to him when we get back, you know, I'm giving you a chance to try it, we want me to suspend you, but I need you here. No, you don't. As we'll see later, no, you don't. But as he's there, they sit down and start having a conversation. Instead of being on lookout duty like they're supposed to, as I hit my blades over here. But as they're doing this, Snapdragon starts talking about his past. And this is where something I have to once again dive into. Going off again with the same old toxic masculinity claim, and the boys will be boys. So Snapdragon has a lot of brothers, and he has a dad who's also looks like he's a guardian and everything, like I said before. From episode 6. I don't think we outright said he was, but he's a strong warrior. And Snapdragon's got a pet. His brother's trying to take the pet from him and beat him up. And the dad shows up. Now, the dad takes the rabbit away from the older brother who's beating up Snapdragon and says, your brother's trying to take something from you. Take it back. To that ilk. He says, if someone's got that, you gotta stand and fight for it. Now, take it from me. And Snapdragon basically does the Gohan headbutt from Dragon Ball Z and gets the rabbit back, and then, they release it. And the dad says, you need to spend more time sparring with your brothers than playing with your pets. We'll make a warrior out of you yet. Now, notice, he said warrior, not man. If he said make a man out of you, I could see how that'd be a little bit more scarring than a warrior. Because he is trying to make him to be a warrior. Some of the better anime protagonists I have seen are strong warriors who have restraint. Look at Rurouni Kenshin and Vash the Stampede. Both have killed many people. Some more intentional than others, but they still have done it. And they value life, and they learn to not take it. They will do everything in their power to prevent that. Power isn't the ability to take something away from somebody or just to be the strongest and beat people up. Power is the ability to do harm or do unspeakable things to others, but restraining yourself from doing it. It's why I always enjoy heroes like Superman and all those really powerful guys, because with their power, they could do all these horrible things and overstep their bounds, but they never do. But no, they're considering this a bad thing, even though Snapdragon already said it, how he wants to, well, he'll say it later, but he wants to be like the girls because he wants to be a strong and powerful warrior like them. And he doesn't like his body. He doesn't like his bulky body. He doesn't like his hands being too big and the stubble. And he mentions how his dad had a full beard when he was 12, which, dang, puberty hits fast in this universe. But throughout all this, he's just, he's confused. He's going through puberty. He's going through a lot. And even when you're going through puberty naturally, even before you get all this hang-up which he might have, it's a lot. And people need to talk about it. And it's clear that Snapdragon has a lot of repressed things. Now, here's where we get to the moment. He says to Calloway, you don't understand. No one's questioning your respect as a warrior. You don't know what it's like and everything. And he says a good line. He goes, oh, if only you knew. Stop there. Stop there. Stop. Great scene. You're alluding to something he knows, but he's not going to impart that on Snapdragon because right now he's in a very vulnerable state and is willing to listen to anything you say and clearly needs to see a psychiatrist or a school counselor or something to work his issues out. Before you start suggesting anything, stop there. Instead, bad teacher mistake number 1. After that, he goes, well, it's clear that you've chosen the path of the warrior, that of fear, of violence. Cal didn't, you wanted his respect, because he says, he disrespected me, so you wanted his respect. No, you got his fear, which also, he didn't get his fear, he just, was pissed, which I guess you could say his fear, but he goes, and if you've chosen the path of warrior and fear, well, it seems like we've reached an impasse. Well, I guess I should say in Ray Rodriguez's tone, well, if you've chosen the path of a warrior, it seems we've reached an impasse. You don't shut it off. You let them dictate the pace, especially if someone's having issues and whatnot. But you never shut it off. You never stop someone who legitimately needs help and is seeking it. You don't drag it out of them. You let them talk and you listen. And you never try to make them feel like they're in the wrong. Well, you never try to make them feel bad, I guess would be the better way to say it. So, by that mere mention, you're now making it feel like Snapdragon's choice in how he fights and everything is now a bad thing. Because when you say we've reached an impasse of someone who he deems, once again, is a respectful warrior, you are shaming him. And I know people call him, her, in a lot of the reviews and comment sections. Hasn't transitioned and all that stuff. Once they do, I will change the pronoun because, like I said, we don't know if he was fully going to. We don't know if he was going to change back. Once again, we never really see how the transition magic works, which brings me to mistake number 2. While Snap is in this really, really vulnerable state... Hold on. Mistake number 2. Leaving the girls alone in a lake with a mermaid-eating dragon, not paying attention, not looking in on your students, not getting status reports or anything like that, leaving them all alone to their own devices on their first big mission. Mistake number 2. I feel like I need to get that one away before we got to break up the serious tone here with that because, well, I don't want you guys just tuning off, but this does need to be addressed. And then mistake number 3 comes right here. So, once again, Snapdragon says, well, it's not, and this is going off what I said earlier when he says, I wish I was more like a girl. I like their skin. I like the bulky, I don't want my bulky shoulders. I hate having all these muscles, which he really doesn't have that much muscles, I'm going to be honest, but still. And it's clear he's going through confusion. And some people have said it's gender dysphoria with the two. I'm not a medical professional or anything of the psychology nature, so I ain't touching that with a 50-foot pole, but I feel like I would need to say it because a lot of other critics and whatnot of the show have mentioned that he might be going through that as well, even though Ray Rodriguez is a trans man, so I doubt that's what he's putting in his own show. I could be wrong, but either way. So, he says this, and then Calloway mentions, well, have you heard of transition magic? Quit being a teacher. And it's not because he told him about transition stuff. That's not the reason. The reason why I say that, your job as a teacher is to educate and guide. A better name for most teachers should be a mentor. A mentor's job is to look at their mentee, no matter what age it might be, and try to guide them on their own path without trying to directly affect your viewpoint onto them. Up until recently, change of jobs and whatnot, I was a teacher myself. And I did everything in my power to make sure that I would try to help my students out, but I would never try to force them or set them down a path that I did. I would maybe say I did stuff, and I wouldn't recommend doing it, like the negative stuff I did, but I would never try to force them down a path that wasn't natural. I shouldn't even say natural, because then that sounds bad, but you don't want to try to directly affect their choice and direction, especially when someone is very, very vulnerable and very, very upset. And that is one thing I give this show credit. Snapdragon's whole issue with him trying to transition and whatnot and all this, it's clear he needs a lot of help. And this is one thing that actually a lot of trans people who watch the show, and even though some of them like it, they're not a fan of the fact that it's just transition magic because it makes the process seem like it's nothing. Like it's a simple snap of your fingers and you're magically changed. And I can understand that viewpoint. From a guy who, once again, cis, straight male, I'm not one of them. I hate saying it like that, but I know people who went through the process. I've seen many streamers and critics and whatnot and YouTubers who have gone through the process. And all of them have said it's a lot of work, both figuratively and literally, because beyond the physical stuff, the whole procedure and everything and the hormones and whatnot, a lot of them who did it and feel good about themselves had to go to a lot of self-help, as it would be, or a therapist and whatnot, or psychiatrists, because they needed to talk out their feelings and their emotions. Now, granted, these are the only ones I know about, that they could be the outliers, but I'm just anecdotal here. So, the fact that you're trying to make something this big and this grandiose into something that sounds so simple really does a disservice to it. And the fact that you're pushing it, or at least saying it at a time a person is very vulnerable, is not a good thing, especially as a teacher. You could have said, well, have you tried demonic magic? Yeah, this demonic magic stuff. You make a deal with the devil and you no longer feel any pain at all. It worked with my friend Jim. That's not a good thing. And he would probably do it. Have you tried alcohol? Just take a little bit of this and the pain just numbs and goes away. Would you want that to be told? And I'm not saying that's the same thing as transitioning and all that stuff. I'm not. But the fact is, if he had said that, Snap would have gone with it because he is that vulnerable. And only people who truly have felt that low in their life, who truly have felt that alone, and have felt that isolated and that depressed, myself being one of them from way, way long ago, but still, I can get that feeling of being alone, isolated, and feeling like there's nothing you can turn to and no one you can, because the mere utterance of what you could feel or whatnot could be taken the wrong way, could be deemed as weird or wrong, or basically people will just hate you for it, and you have that fear of, if I do anything, people are going to judge me and hate me for it. It's not a healthy thing, and you need help. You need people you can talk to. And that's what Snap needs now, and it starts with that. Calloway listens to him. He lets Snap talk out his emotions. And it should have stopped there. Maybe later on in the season, have him come in, have more meetings and whatnot. And then at that point, once he has the full story, once Snap is open and they've tried other things, more simplistic, like maybe meditation, maybe some self-reflecting, or maybe, some other stuff too. But don't just jump straight to that. Don't try to impart what you think onto a student. And that's what this is, because Ray Rodriguez is the character. It's another mouthpiece character. Much like how Kate Leth used Sage in episode 6, this is Ray Rodriguez spreading his viewpoint. And once again, I need to say this. It's not a bad thing to be trans. It's not a bad thing. Now, some people may not like it. Some people may not agree with it. My viewpoint is, if you're not hurting people, don't worry about it. Viewpoint, personally. But the fact still remains, with all of this, Snap is vulnerable and is not in the right frame of mind to get this information. He will latch on to the first thing that sounds like it will fix anything, to the first thing that can help him out. And it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, but you need to make sure he is in the right frame of mind to receive this information, to receive this help, when he's not broken down, when he's not crying, when he is not clearly just snapped and almost beat the heck out of one of your students. I say he kind of did. Once again, the Van Bracers hit him so hard, he broke his wrist. And that's why I don't like episode 11. Because it is literally, you have something here. And if you had just cut it off at a couple of key moments, took some taking some dialogue out of it, it would have been a really good scene to build to something later. It seems like you wanted to rush to the scenario and you let it play out. And you know what? You could have gotten the same result. You would have. All you have to do is just have this conversation. First off, don't have this happen at all, because this seems really forcing a drive. But if you had to have this episode and you had to have this moment, you needed Snap to, for lack of a better word, snap and beat up Cal and have this really big emotional breakdown. And I give the actor credit for this. He is trying his damnedest with this. And the animators, I know, I'm going to say something good about the animators. They do a good job of his body language and his tone and how he's presented. It's clear he's trying to put up a front, which is not good, which leads to the last scene of the episode. Well, the last scene of the episode, where he's with Amaranth, and literally breaks down and starts crying in front of her because he's so scared what she might think of him. And he looks at her nails when she holds his hands and how she'll always be there for him. Really good scene once again. And how she'll always be there for him. He notices her nails and says, "Man, your nails are really good." As he's crying still, by the way. "Would you still like me if I painted my nails too?" And she says, "Only as long as it's not clashing." And that's, once again, a great scene. And that could have been achieved. Take away the trans talk and all that stuff in this one just because it's too soon. And a lot of them have said, once again, too soon. Most of the trans community I've seen who've reviewed this stuff say that it feels like it's really rushed. It feels like it's taken away some of the actual gravitas of the situation. But you could build towards that. It was one of the big things they said, and I agree with it. You could get the same result with one phrase. And I'm not a writer. I wish I was. Netflix, call me. I got better stuff than what you're putting up right now. But, so, simply this. He says, I don't feel like, he still has the whole thing. You stop the whole impasse about different ways to be a warrior. And when he talks about his body, Calloway just looks at him and goes, "It's your body. Don't let anybody tell you what to do." And even have that pause in there specifically, so it sinks in. So you start with your body, so that way it's on him. Don't let other people tell you what to do. And he goes, and he could even reference his own stuff and go, "Let me tell you, there was a lot of heartache and whatnot when I was about your age. And, some people, they didn't understand. They were mean to me, said horrible things. But my friends, my true friends, they supported me. And I know you got true friends too. And then, trust them. You don't have to make a big decision today, but just know that you're fine just the way you are. And if you feel you need to change something up, go ahead and do it. But just know that if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here for you." All he had to say. Same amount of time, same amount of dialogue. That would have portrayed it to him well. It would have gave him a chance. He would have given him time to reflect. And then he would still have that scene with Amaranth, and it would still tie in. So let this happen. And some people have said that he even says afterwards, trans is not for me and all that stuff. But, it worked well for me. Doesn't mean it's going to work well. But once again, you've already put a quick solution in his head because you were having problems and it worked for you. He needs time to develop. He needs time to grow. And that's why I spent so long on this. Because the next episode is not really going to give me much to work with, but hear me out. A message and a meaning of a show, no matter what it is never outright bad on arrival. You could have easily some bad morals and whatnot, don't get me wrong. But the theme and the message doesn't innately mean that the episode or series can be bad, or will be bad, I should say. It's all in the execution. And like you just heard me give what he should have said, it's something that they should have thought about. Now, I don't know what the game plan was. I don't know if they were going to get a second season, because like I said, this thing's been in hiatus hell. And a lot of people just outright say the scene's bad, the scene is good, and all that stuff. It seems like they're very on two sides here. I like to see it in the middle. The potential of this scene and the whole side plot of this could have been changed and gotten the same results, and I could have changed a whole lot of this to get the same result across. But regardless, if you still have to have these exact same moments, that little change to dialogue changes the dynamic greatly. And it starts Snapdragon on a healthier path to grow. Now, he does kind of get out of, punishment for this when he gets back to the academy, because I don't think he gets suspended for, once again, breaking Cal's nose, but beyond all that, considering the next episode is a fight episode, basically, because it's called Attack on High Guardian Academy, no, Titans will not show up, but another male will show up, and he's, I guess if you want to call the others toxic masculinity, this is psychotic masculinity? Maybe just psychotic in general. But, yeah, it's, we're not going to get much more with that, so I just want to address this here so it's on a serious note. High Guardian Spice, the main point of the show was diversity in everything. Which, once again, is not a bad thing. It just needs to be the execution of it. I know I sound like a broken record, but hear me out. This show has potential. Well, I should say had, but still. There are things that could have been modified and changed to still get the same point across, but not having it be as blunt. Because this show, once again with the warning and all the cursing and the blood, which is where a couple of my shots came from today, because all the blood. But, once again, only 6, but... Well, I guess 6, but... So, beyond all that, it's for adults. So you have time to build. Kids usually need the thing right up front, and that's it. They need the quick, episodic moral lesson, and go on from there. Usually. That's the usual formula for kids shows. You have a very bottle stuff. Maybe things will continue and build, but for the most part, each episode should kind of be its own little contained thing. But adult shows, as we've seen, can be big and they can grow. Stuff like The Last Kingdom, Lucifer, even if they were bottled, they still always kept building to something bigger and grandiose. And it can still have been here. You could still have the goofy animation, still have it look like it's made for kids, but still have this serious tone and whatnot that would appeal to anime fans and expand this message. And at the end of the day, if anything for the show, I feel apathy, not even apathy, I feel a little pity for it, because in better writing hands, clearly better animation hands, except for that brief moment I mentioned earlier, but in better hands, this show could have been actually really good. And it's a little sad, because I know a lot of people really like this show. I know there's not a lot of shows out there like this, unless you count Queer Force from Netflix, which only got 1 season. I swear that's a real show. I didn't just say that for a slur. It's called Queer Force or Q Force or something, but basically that's what it stands for. I mean, it was an enjoyable watch, I'll say that. I was dumbfounded the entire time, but still, there's not a lot out there like this, and I know some people would really like it, so I would just hope it would be better. And who knows, maybe we'll get a second season, they can continue on all this stuff and grow. I highly doubt it, but who knows. I mean, The Devil's a Part-Timer had about 13, 14 years between season 1 and 2. Maybe that's a good sign for this, but all in all, still mad about the whole bad teacher stuff from Callaway here. It should have been better, but that's a personal thing. And if any of you stuck this long, thank you, by the way. Please feel free to call me everything in the comment section below. I've heard it all before. But beyond all that, we're now reaching the end, and then I can finally start talking about other things. But we must finish properly with the final episode. So tune in for the finale of High Guardian Spice, where we will be talking about episode 12, Attack on High Guardian Academy. It's been an interesting ride, y'all, and I hope you enjoyed the series, but I guess we can end it all next time. But until then, as always, I'm the $1 Critic signing off, and I'll see you all next time. Later.